On this episode of Long Riders Radio, we're going to talk with someone I met on the side of the road at 4 in the morning. It's Ken Andrews coming up. Support for Long Riders Radio comes from DiscountRamps.com. DiscountRamps.com offers a huge selection of power sports products for your ATV, UTV, motorcycle, and more. Everything you need to load, haul, or transport your power sports toys. Long Riders Radio listeners can save 15% off their order by using coupon code LONG. That's LONG at DiscountRamps.com. Well, hey there, everyone. Justin here. Hope you're all staying safe and staying well. This is now a 2-episode pandemic if you're using the Long Riders Radio time frame for this. We've now gone on 2 episodes and hope that everyone is making whatever the right decision for them is, whether it's to ride or not to ride. I know I've gone back and forth a few times, and so I have a job where I do have to go in as an essential employee, so I have sometimes just happened to take my motorcycle in, and that's worked out pretty nice. So for this episode, we are going to go with a listener request from Mr. Don Yates, who I met during the IBR in Greenville. Really nice guy. And we're going to talk with Ken Andrews. Now, I didn't know Ken. At least I didn't think I knew Ken, but actually I did know Ken, and we'll see why in just a second. So hope everyone is staying well, and enjoy the episode. On the line today, by special request, we are talking with a rider who is a recipient of the Diamond Mile Eater. He is a finisher of both the IBR and the Hoka Hey, and someone who I met on the side of the road at 4 in the morning. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Ken Andrews. Welcome to Long Riders Radio.
Good morning, everybody out there. I hope y'all are excited about this as I
am. All right, you want to? I gave you a very brief introduction there. You want to expand on that a little bit and tell us about yourself?
Well, I'm pretty much a basic guy, but I love to ride my motorcycles just like the rest of us. And I'm from Arkansas, and I live in Benton, Arkansas, which is outside of Little Rock. Commercial industrial contractor, presently in the middle of building a building while the corona's going on, which is good for me. Other than that, just I'm one of the guys like everybody else.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so we can't just let the thing that I said in the introduction just hang there. Why don't you, from your perspective, talk about our meeting, which I didn't realize. I didn't know who you were for a long time until somebody. So, and I should back up a second. Don Yates requested you. I don't know if you remember talking to Don, but I met him at the IBR in Greenville, and he sent me an email specifically requesting you as a guest. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together until I started looking at pictures of you. I'm like, that's the guy I met on the side of the road at the IBR. So you want to talk about that experience from your standpoint?
Of all places, of course, right?
Yeah.
Where were we at the time? Were we in
I-94? No, it was still in North Dakota. It was outside Frederickson, North Dakota, I think.
Wow.
Because I had just gotten back on the road.
Yeah. I lost all of that. Yeah, I think you even asked me, have you been riding all night? I believe that's one of the first things you told me was because I had a late start because I had such a terrible first leg start. I came down with a case of shingles on the back of my head.
Oh my God!
Went ballistic the night before we took off on the IBR. So I actually almost DNF'd myself on the first leg, and I came in exhausted because it was like having a nest of fire ants inside my helmet. It was atrocious. But I made it through that. Yeah, I made it through that. And of course, the next leg, I kind of slept in a little bit. And I was kind of bummed because I fell from like 48th place down to 69th place. And I had all these bad things working against me. I went down on my bike on top of Mount Evans, on top of the ice, and I was spinning because my hand was caught on the throttle. And I'm spinning around and thinking I'm going to go off of this dang mountain and die right here on my first IBRs. It's pathetic. I was a mess. But anyway, so I made it to the first checkpoint, and And when we took off the next morning, I stayed a little bit late because I needed the extra rest. I finally got some meds in me, some things to calm down my head a little bit, and I had these third-degree burns on both my thighs from my heated gear, and I mean it's just terrible. It's a mess. I can't even believe that I went through it and still survived the dang thing. But so I was exhausted, and I left out probably about 9 or 10 on that third. This is the third leg, and
third leg. Yeah.
yeah, and I basically rode for 36 hours straight to get myself back into the game. And when I ran into you or you ran into me, I was road doping, and I knew it. And I had to pull over to get myself some snap. I'd been talking to my wife for a good long time, and I guess that kind of that melancholy lull of talking when you're going down the road and you're exhausted, it just put me in the loop, and I had to pull over. And next thing I know, a rider comes up. And it was you, and I didn't realize that either. Or I would have said something more, but of course I was kind of out. and yeah, I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere, right? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So from my standpoint, I had started out. I got a fairly early start. I think I left Kennewick at I was in line to get my to sign off when they opened it. So it was 6 a.m. or whenever they let us go.
Yes.
And I rode straight through until, let's see, it was 11 o'clock Central Time. And I stopped in Frederickson. It must have been. And I think that was the name of the town. And because there was a thunderstorm ahead of me, and I'm like, I'm just going to pull over here, get a hotel for a couple hours. And so I think I slept for 2 or 3 hours, got back up on the bike. And as I'm going, I'm leaving. Must have been 2 or 3 exits down. I see a bike on the side of the road. I'm like, uh-oh, never a good sign when you see a bike on the side of the road. So I pull off, and I see this guy who's just are you okay, man? He's like, oh yeah, I'm just a little tired. You look like you had been ridden hard and put away wet.
It's terrible. It's horrid. It's absolutely horrid.
Yeah.
I think I made a mention to you. I said, hey, you mind if I follow you for a minute?
Yeah.
I think I said something along that line, right?
Yeah. We rode together for just a little while. Yeah. And and then once it started getting light out, I think you pulled off at some point to stop and actually get some sleep or something, because you were gone after a while.
No, I got me a Red Bull. I pulled off. I said, well, I'm going to pull off and take a little break here, get something to drink. I got me a Red Bull. I bought one of those Mexican serapes. I said, hey, I'm going to take me a nap. And I figured I needed a blankie. So I bought myself a serape, and I carry it with me everywhere now. It stays on my bike all the time. So, yeah.
That was a rough couple of days for me, because that was so after I met you there, I kept going up to the headwaters of the Mississippi, and I think in one of our conversations back and forth, you were planning on sleeping there, and that would not have been a good place to sleep. You would have been eaten alive by mosquitoes. But I got into Minnesota, and I was just it was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like, oh, I need to sleep. And that was right after I almost put diesel in my ox tank, and which was totally not my fault, but I pulled off on a rest area and got 15-20 minutes of sleep and was able to keep going. But just one of those funny little small world things to see a rider on the side of the road. And then, I mean, granted, it's the IBR, so there's 100 of us idiots out there at 4 a.m, but yeah, it's kind of a funny thing for me.
I'm still, I can't believe that we've not met before, but know, these things are so regional. A lot of it is, and we know all the same people, in these groups, I haven't participated in many of the events that are out west. I'm more central United States and over towards the east, and the things that I work with in the different rallies and stuff, the Rock and Ride Rally or the Nitwit or Hot. All of those great little adventures, right? They're all wonderful events. Yeah.
Speaking of some of those rallies, do you want to? One of the reasons I wanted to talk with you is because I thought it would be as someone who has done both the Hoka Hey and the IBR, which are kind of I would say the top two, the pinnacle of their various types of rallying. Do you want to talk a little bit about? Well, first of all, for me, because I don't know a ton about the Hoka Hey, so you want to explain what it is and kind of what the theory is behind the Hoka Hey?
Sure, sure. Um, uh, a lot of people, just like myself, it's kind of happenstance that you run into Hoka Hey because it's like the IBR. If you're not in these circles of people, you're probably not even going to hear about these things. I never heard about the IBA, and once I got a tingling in my ear and started doing some research, I ran into it, and of course that led me into the Hoka Hey because I met a group of riders in Jax. Uh, and these guys are all wearing their vests, and they kind of suck me in, and they start telling me about this, and I'm like, wait a second, what are y'all talking about here? I'm still trying to get over the fact that I found out what the IBA is. I found my people. I found my roots. You know what I mean? It was just like I remember calling my wife the first time I went to Jackson. Went, you're not gonna believe this. She's like, are you high? And I'm like, what? She's like, I'm like. I'm like, this is amazing. Everybody here is talking about motorcycles. They talk about riding their motorcycles, where they're going to ride their motorcycle to, when they're going to ride it, working on motorcycles. I said, this is just crazy. I love it, right? So running into these guys at Jax was almost a perfect fit because they're like, you should really try this. I'm like, oh man, that sounds crazy. I mean, I'm just now figuring out what the IBR is, and now I'm hearing about this madness that these guys are doing. And the guy's like, hey, I can get you in. And I started looking, and I'm like, but they already closed the signing. He said, not to worry. If you want to ride it, we know who you are. If you want to ride it, well, I'll get you in. I said, okay. So I went home, turned in my application. I got accepted. And this thing, the Hoka Hey that it is similar to the IBR in that you have to ride like crazy, and it's changed its format over the years, but it's generally somewhere in the 10,000 plus mile range, and they have what they call an end of the road party, which is like 14 days into the event, and you can still be a finisher if you do not make that event. You can still be a finisher if you follow the exact route. Everybody has a tracker on them, so there's a vapor trail so they know if everybody's doing the right thing. You have to follow turn by turn directions across this entire format. Basically, it's about 3 legs or 4 legs actually, with 3 checkpoints, and they're about 2,500, 2,600 miles apiece. They change, and they're all secondary roads, and I'm in secondary, mostly 2 lane.
And when you
I've
say turn by turn directions, they mean no GPSs, no electronics of any kind.
Absolutely. You're running on the fly. You get all the paper maps that you want to carry, that you think you can carry because you're out on the road for 10 days. So
Yeah.
you're carrying everything. You're carrying food, you drink, and just like an IBR. It's the same as that, except for you have to sleep next to your bike, and you don't get any hotels or anything along that line. If you want a shower or something, you can use a truck stop. I think my last one, I think I might have had one shower in 10 days, actually, to tell you the truth. And I think that was at Mammoth Cave National Park. When I woke up, we're sitting right there, and there's the water washdown system for the national park where you come in and out. They always wash the RVs off. And I had me a nice, fine shower that morning. That was about 4 days in. So, yeah, that was amazing.
That is a visual right there.
Oh, man. Hey, my bike's right there. I'm riding with another guy at the time. He's knocked out, and I want to wake him up and go, "Hey, stupid, we can get us a shower right here. Look at this, man. Look at this. This is great. This is amazing." So yeah, but that's a big part of it, is that you're out on the road and you're feeling the elements. And when I say secondary roads, I'm talking about your remote, and there are no auxiliary tanks. You have to ride on the fuel that you can carry. You can't carry an extra bottle with you or container or anything. I actually a Startron. What is it? Stay Bright Startron, the fuel additive. Actually, 5 bottles of that actually carried me far enough one night in the middle of Texas, I believe, in a downpour. I'm like, I'm going to run out of gas. This is it. I'm not going to make it. I don't know where the next one is. I'm coming into a town, and no fuel anywhere. And so I've got these 5 little bottles of enzyme, whatever it is, and I pour it in my tank, and I actually made it about another 17 miles. And I know I was huffing fumes the whole way, and got this fuel. and got back on track and got back after it. Yeah, that was somewhere in the panhandle of Texas. I can't even recall. You run so blind. I tell people in all these type of endeavors, you get in the mountains and sometimes you get so disoriented you can't really tell your internal navigational system turns off because you're spinning and turning and it's cloudy and overcast and you can't see and so you don't know if you're heading north, south, east, west. You're just going wherever you're supposed to be going, right? And that's kind of a lot of what it is when you're out there on the Hoka Hey, because a lot of times you absolutely have no idea. And even with the amount of miles that I've ridden across the country, sometimes when I'm looking at the directions where I'm at, I can go, hey, I know where I am and I kind of know where I'm going, but then they make you take another turn, go absolutely somewhere else, you know.
Do they make you like take pictures or anything, or is it just make the tracker go to those places?
They do not, and the tracker doesn't take you there. The tracker, they use US
make the tracker show that you went there.
Yes. You have U.S. Fleet Tracker, and U.S. Fleet runs a vapor trail on you, and they have people constantly monitoring. But it runs a vapor trail of you. They set up for the Hoka Hey. U.S. Fleet does, in conjunction with the Hoka Hey, I guess you should say. And so they have this set up for the riders. Everybody's on the same track and everything. So actually, the next one coming up, Momus Comet, which is coming up in August of this year, hopefully. I'm actually participating. Yeah, right. I'm participating in it as well. And I have to clarify there. You said earlier, I'm actually not considered a finisher because I got a speeding ticket and I turned myself in, and they changed the rules and that doesn't allow you to be a finisher. But they gave me because I was a fourth place. I came in fourth out of I don't know 120 plus riders, I guess. They gave me the elite belt. Nice, they have nice belt buckles.
Nice.
Say 2018 elite rider on them. So I got the elite rider belt buckle, and I actually got a dance stick, a Native American dance stick, which is a horse. Which is they gave me the Integrity Award, which I thought was incredibly special. They give out 4 of these special awards at every Hoka Hey, and so there's not very many of them in the world. Matter of fact, there's only like 4 of them, and I have one. It's a beautiful thing to have. So even though I was disappointed in not getting the finish, I still have these wonderful gifts that I got while I was at it. So it's just over the top, you know.
Yeah, I think that's worth pointing out that's one of the rules. Is you get a speeding ticket, you're done.
Yeah, that's it.
You are done.
It used to be that you could get a speeding ticket, and that's the way the rules were supposed to be. If you get a speeding ticket, you can still be a finisher, but you can't get any of the top awards. And so there was a big shuffle there. There's a big ado about it. And I'm a trendsetter. I'm a rule maker. I've had a couple of rules made about me in the Hoka Hey, so I kind of keep that on the DL there. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
But I love them. I love them. They're wonderful people, and I am going to be in the next one. So
very cool. Yeah. So what from your standpoint, and one other thing I should point out that it's American made bikes only in the Hoka Hey. But can you talk about from like, I don't want to say like which one's better, but which is it? Because they're just different. But which one did you find more difficult? Because I mean, with the IBR, it's about what your route is going to be, and planning your route is such an important part of it versus the Hoka Hey, where it's actually following the route that somebody else created and not knowing exactly where you're going. Which one did you find more difficult?
Well, I knew you were going to ask that question because everybody asks that question, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of have this. I say it's my stock answer, but I don't know if it'd be anybody else's because I think there's only 5 or 6 of us that have done both of these events, the IDR and the Hoka Hey. And when you get to this level of riding expertise, like all of us that I think, I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, even though I love to because I think it's fun. I think it's very exciting. Some people have said the IBR is harder. Some people say the Hoka Hey is harder. And I kind of sit right in the middle of that fence, which I know a lot of people aren't going to like that, but it's, I say when you are riding at this level of the game, it's nobody else anymore. It's you. It's you.
Yeah.
These are individual sports, and it's you by yourself. And each one of these events are only as difficult as you make it, and they're extremely so hard compared to anything else that you could think of, that whatever level you're riding at, you're already at an increased level. And then to make it even harder, you're trying to finish in a higher position, because there's a big difference in finishing with a gold medal in the IBR and being a finisher. And it can be a mistake. It can be a mistake. That mistake is the same thing as you're riding blind. You don't even have any idea where you're going. If you make a wrong turn, if you go 60 miles, and that 60 miles is now 120 miles.
Yeah.
And you have to go back to exactly where you got lost at, get back on track, and then start over again. So whatever level it is, hey, if you want to be in the top 20, that's a whole different animal than being number 79, even though being a finisher is absolutely out of this world, right? So
it seems to me that's kind of the comparison is kind of more of like what's harder, winning the Super Bowl or winning the World Series.
There you go, right?
They're both played with balls, so shouldn't they be the same? But like, no, they're just completely different things. And yeah, I guess my question was more, which did you find? Because everyone's experience is going to be different, obviously, but which one did you find was more challenging?
Boy, that's you make me sit there and see. Yeah, it's like, how come I only get one wife? Well, because two would kill you. So why do I only get one wife? Wow. There's the elements of them are so much different. With the Hoka Hey, if you start, the more you see and you watch some of my things and you watch the people I hang around with, it is such a familial thing. There's such a bond, and it's a life experience. The IBR, man, you are geared and focused on this thing, this huge adult chess match on motorcycles that you get to participate in, right? I mean, it's incredible like that, and then you turn around and you go to this Hoka Hey, and it's this thing that you're going to be riding, and with the Hoka Hey, you're riding 20 hours a day. The IBR, they're going to shut you down. My first, I think my friend Ken Cowart and I, he lives pretty close to me here, and he was on the last IBR as well. 6 weeks after breaking his what do you call it? Your shoulder up there, the clavicle.
Clavicle. Yeah.
6 weeks after breaking that, I was riding on saddle sore. He rode an IBR. But we talk about this, both of us being a Hoka Hey and both of us being IBR guys. And it's just like, man, there's just no way to express exactly what it is about them that make you want to go back to both of them. But the Hoka Hey makes you want to be with the people as much as anything else. And it is a life experience. It's a life event. Both of them are. But this one, you're out there, you are absolutely by yourself. There's nothing but you and the road and the motorcycle. And I know that sounds kitschy and cliche-ish and everything along that line, but it is. It's you, and you don't know where you are while you're at it. And you happen to come towards the town and go, oh, there's a town. Oh my God. But you don't even see people anymore. It's the same thing on the IBR, right? You don't even see people anymore unless it's a motorcycle. Like you said, it's like, oh, hey, there's a motorcycle. But you don't see cars, and none of that means everything. You're so focused because you could this turn. You take this turn right here, and not only are you following this turn, it says you're on Highway 16A. Well, Highway 16A is going to make you take 25 turns before that next 5-mile turn you're supposed to take. So, keeping that focus is just, when you're running 20, 22 hours a day. I mean, I actually totaled my motorcycle on the last one, and when I got back on it, I think I rode back-to-back saddle sores on secondary roads that I don't even know where I'm going. I actually think I got 4 certificates out of it. I rode 2,500 miles in 2 days on secondary roads on the first leg. I mean, it's you'll be amazed at what you can do to yourself, right? I'm thinking of the things you've done to yourself during the IBR, right? How many IBRs have you been in?
I've done 2.
2. Awesome. That's craziness.
And we'll be coming back for a third.
Yes, I'm going to be there for my second. I hope the experience is a little better.
Well, you did a lot better in your first IBR than I did in mine. and both my first and my second. So yeah, I think you've got the right mindset about it for sure.
I tell you, man, that's just to be where I was on that, I was blown away. And all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Just like I said, I
Oh
went
yeah.
down on top of Mount Evans. I'm like 500 feet from the top of that thing when I went down on my motorcycle. And
Mm.
it took 4 of us to get my bike up on top of that ice so we could stand it up so I could ride it down. But I
Oh,
lost that. I lost that bonus because I didn't take a picture of the
yeah.
ice. And then I turned around and I told him, I said, I saw somebody else that went up there. I don't know if it was Bora or anyway, somebody else went up there the same day as me. I'm like, you didn't go to the top? And they're like, no. And so I went and talked to him and said, hey, I went to the top and I got a picture of me and my bike up there and my flag. And they said, well, okay, we'll go back and review it. And they went back and reviewed it and they come back. And Jeff said, no, you didn't take a picture of the ice. We can't tell why you couldn't get up there. And I'm like, denied, right? So then, but he says, but hold on here a second. There's something else we got to tell you about. You're going to be a little disappointed. And I'm like, what's that? And he said, well, we reviewed your other pictures, and then Cordell for the steam train, you took the picture of the wrong steam train. So we're going to have to deduct those points from you as well. So that was like a 5,400 point swing between the two of them right there. That I stuck my finger in my own eye. I was such a letdown. I was just like, oh no, yeah.
Oh,
And how important checkpoints are to you anyway. I mean, it's just like such a relief when you make them, and now you get to move to that second leg, and which means you're still in the game, you're still in the hunt, With the Hoka Hey, it's people try to say it's a race, and it's not. It's supposed to be an individual thing. It's supposed to be, you're trying to find the meaning of life. You're trying to see what it's all about. It's supposed to be you and find that. I got my spirit animal. I mean, I had an owl come at me. I'm somewhere near Coeur d'Alene in Idaho, and it's in the middle of the night. And I had this owl come at me just right off the top of this mountain, and right in front of me, he just flared his wings. And this thing was like twice as wide as the interstate. And I'm like, wait a minute. It landed right on the bridge right beside me. And I'm like, wait, I need to get off my bike for a minute, because that's something right there. That's not supposed to be here. That's when I said road doping, you have to learn yourself to understand that when you're riding, when you do the kind of things we do. I think I told you that I think I've averaged over 81,000 miles a year over the last 5 years. Of course, we shut that down this year, but and riding those kind of miles, you have to know what's within you, and you have to know where your safety points are at. So when you get to road doping like that, you need to know. You need to go, hey,
it's time to stop.
This is not real. Yeah. I think Jim Owen told me one of the most fascinating stories about he had, and I'll let him tell it if anybody else hadn't heard it, but that he had on one of his riding experiences. I'm like, man, you should go do a Hoka Hey. You're going to love it. Because it's like, and I wish he would, or Wendy Crockett would as well. That would be amazing to have them in both events, because they're just such solid riders anyway. So, yeah.
Well, so one of the other things I mentioned in your intro was that you're in the Diamond Mile Eater Club, and you've done a whole, I would say, a crap ton of certificated rides. But one of the things that was in Don's email to me was ask him about his elusive 4810 ride. So tell us about the elusive 4810 ride.
That's my Facebook page. It's besides my private is actually called that. Ken and his quest of the elusive 48 and 10. And I, like everybody else, of course, one of the first rides you want to do is a big one when you get introduced to this crazy lifestyle of ours. And I picked out the 48 and 10, 48 states in 10 days, the contiguous states. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to do this. She's like, you're nuts. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to do this. This sounds great. And, because when I found out about the IBA, and I'm like, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, I've done that. I'm like, well, if you did it, why didn't you certify it? Because if you didn't certify it, I can't believe it. Because if you don't have a picture, it's not real, right? And so I went and did one. And even everything about it. As a matter of fact, for my 100th ride, my first IBA ride, I duplicated it. And instead of doing it in 23 hours and 45 minutes, I did it in 15 hours and 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Wow.
so yeah, that's the difference, you know, and
Yeah.
the gear and the style and aux tank and everything else, you know.
Yep.
But the 4810, I didn't have the aux tank, and I had terrible gear. I did just a regular Harley rain suit, leather boots, a skid lid. I'm riding a Road King. I do have a windshield, but I have no amenities. I have one RAM mount, and I have a Zumo 665 and Garmin, and
Wow.
and I don't even know how to use a thing. I can plug in a dang address and get somewhere, but I don't have addresses. I'm not flying on the blind on this, but I have a flip map for directions.
Okay.
And I don't have Google Maps, and I mean, I guess I'm doing this the way it should have been done because I love it. Incredible. And so I take off. I go to my sons, and I take off, and I start in Arkansas. I hit a 4 corner, and I'm out in California with the saddle sore, no sweat, easy peasy. And I basically ran the first 3 days a K a day, but it was raining and it was incessant and it was storms, and I had my wife calling me going, "Do you know where you are? Are you looking at the radar?" And I'm like, "I don't have to look at the radar." And she's like, "You need to pull over, mister." I'm like, "The only place to pull over is a culvert, and I'm afraid that a flood will come through and drown me. So I can't pull over." I mean, it's just that bad. And I remember Steve Bracken and Steve Ditterich were both going at the same time. It just happened to be, I'm looking at social media and I see these two guys, and it's just pouring on them as well. And I'm waiting for a window because I can start anytime I want. It's right on the solstice, June 21st. So I'm coming in on it. And I'm like, I'm good either way. I wish I'd have waited. But I saw a window and I took off, and it was It worked to Arizona. And after that, it was, well, I did get through Nevada too before it really started getting bad. But because I went west and north, west and then up north, and came over the top and back down and across the plains. But the rain was incessant. It stayed with me. I got up into the northeast, and I got a little bit of a break, and but the time was already crunching on me. I could feel it already. I mean, I'm like, they give you 10 days. This should be a cakewalk, and I'm really starting to watch it time now because the weather it is so bad. It's shutting me down. And I finally get through the northeastern states and coming out of DC. How do you say it? Arv de Grace or Av de Grace? I don't know, man. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm from Arkansas, you know. I mean, I don't know where to go with this, right? And but anyway, I get there, and it is so bad. I'm under a bridge, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm either going to get out in this rain and ride some more and die, or I'm going to sit here when the semi's going to kill me. And I said, I got to ride. So I did, and I made it to a hotel, and I slept what little I could, and I know it had to be less than 4 hours, and I'm out of energy, and I'm out of time. I got about a day left, and I've got like 12 states to get through, and so I take off. I hit it. I run. I run hard. I run over 1,600 miles in about 26 hours. And I end up in Slidell, Louisiana, where I wanted to finish at. And I got like 30 minutes to spare. And I'm like, man, because it's like my first iron butt ride. I almost failed on my first iron butt ride, because my intended stop was a casino in Shreveport, Louisiana. And I stayed at the 3-card poker table much longer than I should have, but I won like $650. and I overslept, and I woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning, my alarm going off, and I got and I mean, I don't have time to take a pee. I take off, and I finish. I'm thinking the whole way, if I don't get this done, my wife will never let me do another one again. And and I finished with 15 minutes to spare. And that's the way I feel right now when I'm doing this 4810. I'm like, I got this done. I tell people all the time, I say, I don't remember crossing Alabama or Mississippi. I just don't. I remember my last fuel stop in Florida, but I know I got these receipts here, and here I am in Louisiana, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm finished. I'm telling this guy at the fuel pump, and he signs my witness forms, and he's like, man, that's the craziest thing I ever heard of my life. You look terrible. He's like, he's looking at me, he's looking at me, pumping his fuel. He's just looking at me, and he sees the way I'm set up, and he's like, what have you been doing? And I'm like, man, I got to tell you this. I got to tell you what I just went through. And this guy that's great. That's amazing. I'm going to go look this up, and I've got this thing done, and I've got I've got this book I carry. That's another story, but I hate to run off on another tangent. And
yeah, we'll ask about you that. I'll ask about that later. Yeah.
and he signs my papers, and there's a hotel right there. I mean, I don't even have fuel stops set up to where I'm going to stop. I just pull over for fuel when I need it. And now that's just crazy because I know where every fuel stop, I know where everything is in front of me. It's like a fighter pilot, right? It's incredible. But anyway, so I get in there, I get this done, and I get me a nice long nap, and I take off, and I start heading towards home. And I'm like, I think I rode straight home. I'm pretty sure after I had that maybe I did it. Maybe I did. Anyway, moving forward, I'm home, and it's about not quite a month later, and I'm setting up my log, and I'm setting up all my receipts, and I get to Florida, and I'm like looking at this receipt, and I'm like, okay, there's Florida, and because I'm writing this thing in my log, and I look at that, and it says Flomaton, Alabama, and I'm like, Flomaton, Alabama. Wait a minute. The next receipt is Alabama. I'm not supposed to be in Alabama. I'm supposed to be in Florida. So frantically, I pick up my phone. I go back and I hit my map, and I'm looking at my spot, and I'm looking at the map, and then I remember the fuel station. I remember exactly the way the bike was parked at the fuel pump. I remember getting that receipt and going, "This is it, man. This is the holy grail right here," because this is the one that I thought was going to DNF me. I thought Florida was going to take me out because I was out of time. And I said, I got this bad. It's the golden ticket, and I'm in the wrong place. And I pull it up on Google Maps or Google Earth, and I zoom right into it. And I'm like a mile from the Florida line. I didn't get Florida. I've been out here almost dying for 10 days, and I did not have Florida. You got to be kidding me. I called my wife. I said, hey, you're not going to believe this. I missed Florida. And she said, what? I said, I missed Florida. What am I going to do? When I got home from that ride, I got showered up and everything. I know I spent an extra day because I was fairly fresh when I got home, and I got cleaned up when I got home, and I told my wife, let's go to our local pub, let's go to our local bar, and let's see our friends because they're going to be excited because everybody from here was tracking me, and they know I do this crazy stuff anyway, and I get to my local bar, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of people in here today, and it just keeps getting filled up. It's called the Relay Station. It's closed now, and I'm like, man, it's a real funny vibe. And next thing I know, this place is just wall to wall people, and it's a party for me. It's a surprise party. I get a standing ovation. I mean, I get a standing ovation by everybody in there because they're living vicariously through me.
Yeah.
And in this moment, they're part of it with me. And I mean, it's just an awesome feeling, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I've let everybody down. I've destroyed this. I've pulled off this fraud on all these people I know. How do I vindicate that? How do I fix myself? And I'm like, do I just not say anything? Do I just not turn this ride in? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, where do you go with this? How do you make it past this? What's the next? What do you do? What do you do?
Yeah.
And my wife she's like, so what do you do? I said, I'm packing my shit, excuse my French, and I'm going to take off in the morning. I got in contact with the manager, our Harley here, and he stayed open late. He said, Dad, I told him, I said, I need to be discreet about this, but I need a back tire, man. I got to go. So he puts on a back tire on my bike for me that evening. I take off the next morning. I go to my son's that night up in Bentonville, in northwest corner of Arkansas, and I spend the night with him, and I take off and I ride it again.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. I ride my route again, and I actually took some different. I changed some directions a little bit. Instead of going through Spokane, whatever it is, I went through I went Lolo Pass. You know, I mean, just things like that. I basically already had the route memorized, and it's funny that I can, but I knew exactly where I was going. I went further. As a matter of fact, I went 5K in 5 days. And and that's when I hit social media, and I knew I was out front then. I'm like, okay, I got this in the bag. So that's when I hit social media, and I know there's a write up on the IBA page somewhere that I said, hey, I got to let y'all know I perpetrated a fraud, and I am so sorry. I never intended to be like that, right? And I just want y'all to know that I'm out here and I'm making it right. And Mike Kneebone instantly, bam, hey, what are you talking about? So he's been watching, and I'm like, hey, it's okay, Mike. And he calls me, he's like, what's going on here? He's like, hey, take it easy, take a breath, we'll figure this out. Then he asked me, you think you yo-yoed? I'm like, yo-yo, what the hell is that? He's like, well, you don't think you just edged in and edged back out? We can look at this. Let's look at this. And I'm like, no, I know where I was. I never hit it. And he said, we'll figure it out. I said, it's okay. He said, why? I said, because I'm 5K and 5 days into this again. He said, okay, I'll see you later. And he hung up. That's it. Click. That's all I got out of it. Yeah, it's like, and I realized that's the way he is, because he told me that at the 2017 IBR. He said, he saw me. I wrote a BBG in for the second leg. In the first leg, I missed a saddle sore, and I said I failed. And he told me, don't ever say that. It doesn't sound right. But so I never use that term again when I don't make a ride. So I'm there at the 2017 IBR, and he's like, hey, I didn't see your application for the IBR. How come you're not going to be in the 2017 IBR? How come you turn the application? I said, I didn't think I was ready. And he looked at me. He said, well, what if you don't get in 2019? And turned around and walked away from me. And I'm like, you're doing it to me again, right? You're doing good. So anyway, we'll go back to the 48-10. So I rode the 48-10 again, and it's my second time up. 5 days, 5K in. I've got 5 days, and I lollygagged the next 5 days. It was sunshine and clear skies. It was. I visited a couple museums. I hit a couple tour of honor sites. I ate good. I slept well. I had full rest and everything. I was like, this is great. Everybody should ride one of these, and I brought it into Slidell again, and it was an excellent ride the whole way through. It was a piece of cake almost, and I hate to say it like that because it is so extraordinarily hard. But
yeah, but you did a lot to start with.
Yes, and got myself clear through to it. And it's kind of funny because when I made it through there this time to Slidell, I moved on to a town that I knew in Louisiana called Front Royal, because I knew there was this excellent 4-star, I call it a 5-star, Cajun restaurant and a little motor lodge and a bar and another big restaurant down this is an oxbow down on the lake. And so I rode there and I got myself a wonderful meal, and I went to the bar and I met some people there, and they were kind of snooty to me, I remember, but the barmaid was really nice, and I probably drank excessively, and I walked back to the hotel, which is not very far away, probably a block, and I get in my hotel room, and it's a wonderful little motor lodge. Like I said, the rooms are great, and it's freezing cold, and there's some of the best water pressure in the country, and I dive towards the bed, and I overshoot the bed, and the crown of my head hits in the wall, and it pushes me down on top of my head again on the floor, in between this small space between the bed and the wall. And I'm pinned, and I'm like, I'm going to die. This is where I die. I just finished this ride, and I survived it, and I'm going to die right here in this hotel room, drunk, bouncing off the walls in between the bed. That's just terrible. How am I going to explain this? It's rod. It's rod.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So on the original ride,
Yes.
Did you go back and look if you would have had to go to an actual gas station on your current route into Florida, would you have made it? Because you said you were
Yep.
very close to not finishing it anyway. Would you have had time to make it if you actually had to go into Florida, or would you just run out of time?
I'm like a mile. I'm like a mile from where the next fuel stop was.
So you would have 2-3 minutes.
Yeah. I'm golden. I mean, I wouldn't have spent any more time on the fuel. I'm golden. I took advice from a lady. Never do that. Never. Not a lady. Don't get me wrong there. Don't take advice from anybody. Do what you're supposed to do, right? And do with your gut. Stay with it. And I'm like, I pull off the interstate, and I'm telling the lady, I'm like, hey, is there a service station down here? Because I'm running blind, for fuel. I'm getting on the interstates and everything like that. And this was not where I targeted to do it at, but this is where I took a chance. And the lady's like, yeah, I'm telling her about it. She's like, yeah, you just keep going down the road here and you're going to go about another 15 miles. And there's going to be people tell me about what you're doing all the time. And I'm like, and when I think about this later, it's just like anything else. When people say, oh, yeah. I got friends that ride a lot. And I'm like, no. Let me tell you something. I ride a lot. and I do it a lot. And I do it like right now. And they're like, oh, yeah, iron butt. Everybody does iron butt. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
This is a very, even when you say there's probably 85,000 numbers out there right now, iron butt rides, that's not a lot. That's still not a lot of people, even though it may, if you put them all in one group together, it is. But when you disperse them across the country, 325 million, not very many people. And to do these events as well, it's even a smaller number, right?
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned the book previously.
Yes.
Tell us about the book.
The book. I love the book. The book is probably one of my favorite things, and you should see these collections of things that I have, because I have stickers. I have I have national park hiking stick badges. I have 2 hiking sticks full, plus another gallon bag full of them with these things that I collect. I call it people like us searchers. Where we search these things out. We always have a goal that we're looking for. And when we're going there, we collect things along the way. And I'm big about that, being places. And I bring it back with me, so it's part of it. And my book is part of that. Excuse me. And I told my wife before I started on my 4810, I said, I think I've got a good idea here. And I showed her this book. I said, I'm always banging my gums, and people always hear what I have to say. And I said, I want to hear what other people have to say. So I have this little black book, and it's like 3 inches by 5 inches. And I think it has 90 something pages in it. And it's got a little pocket in the back of it. And I said, I'm going to see if I can get people to sign this book for me. And if they have something to say or whatever. And it's worked out wonderfully, because I carry it with me only on my motorcycle. And when I started my 4810, all of my friends in my bar that I hang out in, I got them to sign it first. My wife signed it first, but and now it's morphed into something a lot different. And I've run into all of these people. It's amazing. I've run into admirals and generals and senators and congressmen and governors. And these are all by happenstance, because I happen to be in all these places. And people give me trinkets and baubles and bangles and money. And it's amazing, because people will give me money all the time. And I try to refuse. I'm like, hey, look, if I'm riding 80,000 miles a year on a motorcycle doing this crazy stuff, I can probably afford a tank of gas. And it's just like, They want to be a part of it, though, Jason. You know what I'm saying? They want to be a part of it, Jason, and they want to feel like they're contributing, because they think it's incredible. They think what you do is incredible. They think what I do is incredible. All these things we get to see. So this book started filling up. Next thing I know, I'm on another one. Then I'm on another, and now I think I'm on number 8. So I have and so when you say 90 pages, well, start breaking that down. Just say you got 3 people's name on a page, but it's more than that. And there's people tell me stories, and they feel obligated to tell me these things about themselves. And well, I don't know if that's a strong word, obligated.
Yeah.
I just think they like to be a part of it, And
so are they writing? Are they just signing their name, or are they writing like a little something in there too?
There's stories, there's jokes, there's poems, there's insights into them, there's well wishes and all kind of things that you can imagine on that line. There's drawings. I met a weatherman, and he I forget what the name of it is. I could look it up, but he drew like the cloud with the blowing the wind out of it and everything. He's a weatherman over in Texas, but he's in Oklahoma actually, where he's a weatherman. But it was at Texas where I met him at the senior butt rally. I rode in the senior butt rally. He stays at the same hotel that we do, or that we did, I should say. But yeah, so there's all these funny faces and these caricatures and things like that. It's just like, and I have more stories, but they're not rated G. And I've told them to my wife, so I'm actually in the clear. I've told them to my wife, but because it's when you people are strange. Hey, people are strange when you're a stranger. I mean, people are people will do some crazy stuff, man, when you're out on the road like this. I mean, especially when I do this tour of honor and stuff, and I'll be out on the road for 10 days. I always know when it's time to come home. Come home with my beautiful wife, Liza. But it's you're out there and you get this feeling, you get this draw. But you've been out there, kind of. I always try to. I introduce myself. I inflict myself into people's lives. But I'm not trying to be rude, because generally when I get a hotel room when I'm traveling, I want two things. I want sleep and I want a beer. And I don't mean to be ugly about it, but I'm stopped and I'm not going anywhere. So I'm going to have a cold beer and I'm going to have a nice hot meal because I'm going to eat a good breakfast in the morning and I'm going to ride like a madman all day. And then I'm going to have a good meal and I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to get up and do it again. And when I stop, I generally like to have a hotel with like a Applebee's or a Chili's or, these stop chain places because I don't want to go out of my way. And they're generally right next door to your hotel. And, and yeah, so I mean, it's perfect. And you can meet people I always sit at the bar. I don't sit at the table. I sit at the bar and I have my book with me when I go in there. And of course I look like a spaceman when I come walking and I'm haggard. I'm my hair is overgrown. And I'm disheveled, I mean, and the gear that we wear, of course, just blows people away. Because I mean, I can't tell how many.
Aren't you hot?
Yeah, man, how much did you pay for that? Because this is a pricey game that we play, but it's still all the same. You can really interject yourself real quick, and people will when they hear if you're talking to one person right here and the guy next to you hears it, he goes, "What?" I can't even hardly explain how many times I've been called a liar. I've had people just brazenly just say, "There's no way. There's no way anybody can ride a motorcycle 1,000 miles in 24 hours." That you just said you did 1,500. I said, "Man, I've done 1,800 in 24 hours." And they're like, "You can't do it. You're not physically able." I'm like, "Maybe you can't." Right?
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, hey, it might be you, bro, but I mean, have you ever been to Rocket? Let me tell you about this lady, right? You know who Jim Owens is? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just too cool for school, man. Yeah. I have to kind of dig. I think I might be the highest Hoka Hey rider finisher in the IBR. I think I got 14th place, and I think Will Barkley may have got 20th. I think Will Barkley got 20th, and he won a Hoka Hey. I have not won a Hoka Hey. And that's another thing. Winning a Hoka Hey is incredibly prestigious, and then anything other than that, you're just a finisher. So it's all about finishing in the Hoka Hey, right? And it's all about finishing in the IBR, and then you can set your goals for whatever else you get to after that, right? Yes, sir.
So one more thing I wanted to ask you about was your. So I was reading. I stalked you on Facebook a little bit. Find these Ken Go Home stickers raising money for veterans. You want to tell me about that?
Go Home Ken.
Or Go Home Ken, sorry.
Go Home Ken. So perfectly all right. Go Home Ken. So I have stickers and I have patches as well. And I'm raising money this year. The Hoka Hey asked their riders to do a fundraiser of sorts. And I think on the last Hoka Hey, there was over $300,000 raised. I actually raised about $8,000 on the last one myself. And I gave it to Native American causes. And a lot of the Hoka Hey is, we are thinking about Native American causes, and there's a great tie in there. So there's so much more to Hoka Hey than one episode can talk about. We could go into that forever. But so as my fundraiser, this time I chose Fisher House. And Fisher House is the Ronald McDonald's for veterans, for our soldiers and their families. When they're going through rehab or they're having surgeries or things like that from the ordeals that they've been through, their families get put up in these places. So I'm raising money for their charity right now, and I'm taking donations for my patches. Actually, a $5 donation will get you one of my patches, and I like people to send it to me via the mail because I like to write letters still to people. So I always send a real nice note. And I have my stickers and patches, so I generally throw a sticker and a patch in there for people whenever they do. And people send me their patches and stickers as well. So it's really nice, and it's a great cause. I'm hoping our year got crushed, so it's changed everything. And I was hoping that I could get somewhere about $10,000 for this organization this year. And I'm on a good ways towards it, but we've been shut down because of this.
Yeah.
What's
the best way for people to get? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
One of the best ways to get in touch with me is Facebook, because I am a social media animal. I love it. It's one of the funnest things. People always say such negative things about it, but that's not the format I'm looking for. And if you try to negative me, I don't even want any part of it, because I've got a lot of energy and I need somewhere to burn it. You know what I mean? So Facebook is a wonderful place for entertainment if you use it like that. I love to tell the stories of riding, and I like to share them on all these different forums. And that's where I get called a liar a lot, because people are like, there ain't no way you went and visited 54 locations. You logged 54 locations in 24 hours? That's ridiculous. I'm like, that was neat, man. Let me tell you what I got. So,
well, I'm gonna put a link to your Facebook page in the show description here, and I just encourage everyone to go check it out and get in contact with you if they're interested in supporting your hopefully upcoming ride.
Yes, and anybody can message me, and I will give them my address. I'll give you my address right here. I'm at 1803 Rock Creek Drive, 3 words, 1803, Benton, Arkansas, 72019. That's my home. People said, aren't you afraid to tell people that? I'm like, you don't want to come to my home and bother me. That's not what you want to. I'm not the one. I'm not that guy, man. You know, hey, I love everybody. I have people stay at my home. I'll host riders all the time, because I've known them from some connection and everything. And I'm comfortable in my home. I'm safe. So, and I hope everybody else is safe out there right now too. We're going through a real trying time, right?
Yeah.
You're in California, is that correct?
No, Washington State.
Oh my goodness, you're way up there. Yeah. So it's beautiful up there. I love it up there, man.
I can hear the birds and the breeze in the background, and I'm looking out my window, and it's pouring down rain right now. So,
we've had a lot of rain, and I get called Rain Man a lot as well, because of the amounts. If you go ahead and stalk my page a little bit more, you'll notice that people make up memes about me and put them on Facebook. Different memes about the weather and myself, and it's like, we don't know. Hey, how we're going to know where the weather is if we don't know where Ken is, or if you're going that way, hey, you better find out where Ken is first.
I'm thinking about it when he stopped at the side of the road. There was a thunderstorm going on.
Absolutely, there was a chased one all the way over there. As a matter of fact, I was watching. It's like, and I was looking at my radar, and I'm like, man, there's 2 of them, and they're fixing to just. I'm going to be right in the middle of them, and they're just going to smoke me here in a minute, man. That was heading towards the headwaters of the Missouri first, right?
Well, we were past that. We were going to Mississippi at that point. So,
yeah. I was saying at that point, it's like, oh no, right? Yeah, right on.
Well, Ken, on this podcast, we ask every guest the same series of 12 questions to wrap up each interview. You game to go?
I am.
All right. Question number 1: what was your first motorcycle and why?
Well, besides mini bikes, at Elsinore 125. It was a lot of fun. It was a dirt street bike. My dad had bikes, so my friends had a lot better bikes, and I had a little rag one that I could bounce around on. It's my first mode of transportation to really get somewhere, besides a skateboard, I guess.
Where did you take your first overnight ride?
My first overnight ride, I guess it'd be up into the Ozarks, Eureka Springs, with friends of mine. Yeah, I think we went up there for the big Bikes, Blues, and barbecue festival that they have every year.
Question number 3: what is your day job? What pays for this LD riding habit of yours?
That's a good one. I am a commercial industrial contractor doing mechanical insulation. We do pipes and ducts, turbines, and boilers. My daughter actually primarily runs all the day-to-day operations. And right now I'm in the middle of building about 1,800 square foot of office space in an 8,000 square foot building that I purchased. And I'm doing it by myself. I'm about to finish the framing. Thank you.
Okay, you got to give yourself a plug here. What's the name of your company?
Insultech. Insultech Mechanical Insulation Contractors.
All right. What is your favorite non-motorcycling hobby?
My favorite non-motorcycling hobby. I think I said I rode 80,000 miles a year for the last 5 years.
Do you have one?
Hanging out with my friends, I guess, visiting with my friends. Yeah.
Okay, I'm guessing you've gone on a lot of. There may be more than one here, but what is your favorite road?
Whew. That is like the first question I usually get out of everybody. What's your favorite road? Your most favorite place? And I don't know. I just have to say somewhere out west. It's too subjective. It can be a time, a smell, a moment, night, day, and you go back to the same place, and you're going to get a different feeling from it the next time you're there.
Yeah.
So it's just too wide open.
It's interesting that you put it that way, because I would say a majority of the people who have answered that question, it's not about the road itself. It's about the experience. It was like the weather or the sky or something other than the actual road itself. I mean, there's lots of people who I like the twisties on this road or whatever, but
yes.
A lot of people, it's, it was coming up in the morning and coming over this rise and the sunrise and blah, blah, blah. It's just, it's interesting how many people, it's not the road itself, it's the experience that goes with it. That's the memorable part.
The moment.
All right. I know you got one of these though. What is your least favorite road?
That one that went out to that damn lighthouse on the IBR that I went over the mountain on that thing. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. They would have put you on this road on the Hoka Hey. And then I see a shelter for a bus. And I'm like, somebody brings a bus up here? Are you nuts? You're going to let your children ride on this road? That is horrid, that road. And then there were earthquakes, so there's boulders in the middle of the road that are not supposed to be there. There's boulders in the road. They had like 3 successive earthquakes. Yes, and going up into the north up there to that lighthouse, that remote.
I didn't go to California. I went to Vancouver.
Oh, I dropped my glove. And luckily, I dropped my glove because I don't know what I'm looking for, but you got to get a picture of the trailhead sign, and I see it. There's a sign that says, "Caution, do not move past this point without bear spray." And I'm like, are you kidding? This is it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, this is what I need right now after riding that road, making it here in the dark. And I see this sign. And so I'm about to leave and I'm about to put my gloves on and I'm missing one. And I turn around and it's just pitch black. I mean, it's so remote. There's no ambient light whatsoever. And when I look back to my right to where I came from, there's the picture of the trailhead sign, the national, you know how they're all the same standard stock. Mm-hmm. There it is right there beside me. And I'm like, oh my Lord, I almost missed that. just because I dropped my glove, there it is. So I get off, I take the picture, I go back, I get my glove and I leave. And the thing about that, I know I run on here, I'm sorry, but the thing about that is my GPS, I was blind. I couldn't see where I was going. Because my GPS for that leg, I had not set point to point to point. I just put the points in there, and I had it on my phone, but my phone was dead. There's no reception for anything. So I said, well, I know how to get back to that town that I came to, back there to wherever that was, and I make it back there. And because of these earthquakes, all power is out. The satellite towers are down and everything. And I'm making to a fire station. I talked to this young man there, this young fireman, volunteer fireman. He's like, I'll give you the Wi-Fi code, man. I'll give you the Chief's Wi-Fi code. So he gives it to me, and boop, I'm back live again. And then I had to go up to come out of there, and coming out of there was just as bad. It's terrible, terrible. Yeah, that road. That's the one. That is the one. I'll go there sometime. I'll give you the GPS coordinates.
All right, question number 7. Base camp, streets or trips, or paper maps? What are you using to plan your route?
I'm a Google Maps guy, and I do carry paper maps with me, but I've evolved. I started out doing it. Like I said, on my first 4810, I still have the flip map that I took that what do you call this stuff you use to make things waterproof? Anyway, I cut up all these maps. I took 2 big Rand McNally atlases, and I I cut them up to individual pages about 6 inches by 8 inches, and I made them into a 3-ring binder, and
Oh, and
that's what I
laminated them.
carried. Yeah, laminated them. There you go. Thank you. I couldn't dig the word up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and carried that with me on the trip for my directions across the country. So now, like I
Wow.
said, everything is planned. I've got a Zumo 665. I have 2 cell phones up. They're 2 different services. I have AT&T and Verizon, so that if I'm in one location, the other one can pick up. So I'm not running in the blind. And I used all of these devices on the IBR, and on the Hoka Hey, you can't use any of them. You know, so
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. If you get a new motorcycle tomorrow, what's the first Farkle you're going to put on it?
It's got to be my spot tracker. I 2, either a ram mount or my spot tracker, one or the other. It's going to be a ram mount to hold something. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. What is your current motorcycle, and why is it your current motorcycle?
Oh, love them, man. I am a road glide guy. I am pushing the Harley brand, baby. My local dealership treats me wonderfully. They are wonderful people at Rock City Harley Davidson. They help me set my motorcycles up. I have both a Road Glide Special and a Road Glide Ultra. My Ultra has the aux tank on it. It's my rally bike. And my other one is my Pretty. She's a big built-up beast. And when I say it, people heckle Harleys, but she's about 120 something horsepower with a lot of torque, and she is just a beautiful, incredible machine. Whereas the Ultra, she's nice. She's my horse. She's the one that's going to get me there. As a matter of fact, when I hit January of this year, I got her for the IBR. She was almost brand new when I went there. She had about 6,000 miles on her. And when I finished the year out last year, I had 60,000 miles on her already. So, yeah, she gets a workout.
So who made your seat?
I ride a stock Harley Davidson seat. I have either a Wild Ass or an Air Hawk that I ride on top of my seats.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am so envious of people who can ride on the stock seats, because I have yet to have a motorcycle where the stock seat was comfortable.
They have a hammock seat. Harley does. They have a hammock seat, and I hear people talk about these seats all the time. And I've sat on a couple people's custom seats, and it's like, that's like sitting on a rock. What do you mean that's comfortable?
Yeah.
So everybody, it's just like motorcycles and cars. They like what they like, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said, don't listen to anyone else's advice. Do what's right for you.
Now I'll put in a little plug here. Now I ride Legend Suspension. The wonderful people at Legend Suspension take care of me, and now that makes a huge difference. I mean, I'm riding the brand new Revo Arcs that they put on both of my bikes for me, and they're incredible. I mean, they take all of that killer road out of it. I'll tell you that much right now.
Interesting.
Yes.
All right. What is your favorite or the most interesting location you've visited on your motorcycle?
I don't know. I toss it out that, it's incredible. I have 500,000 miles on a motorcycle, and I've actually visited almost 200 Statue of Liberties across the country, actually in excess of that. And I've visited in one 7-month period, I visited 200 World War One doughboy statues. So I think one of the most interesting places is when I turn the corner and the object that I'm looking for is sitting right there in front of me. That's it, right? Because I just go, there it is, no matter what it is. I mean, I saw 200 World War One doughboy statues, primarily E.M. McKesney's, across the country in a 7-month period on the Tour of Honor, which I absolutely love. You visit memorial sites all across the country, representing our veterans and first responders, firefighters along that line. I participate in this event every year. It runs from April 1st, generally, it's not this year, to October 31st. And you go see how many sites you can see. There's 7 sites in every state. And so, like I said, when you're in small town America, wherever, and you're talking about, I'm logging 1,200 sites a year, and you turn that corner and it's like, there it is, man. Bingo. I hit it. That's a money shot right there, right? Yeah, it's incredible. That's the best place.
All right, last of the LD dozen questions. How do you pass the time on a long ride? You listen to music, audiobook?
I can I say these things? I wouldn't say them anyway.
Go for it.
Everybody, you can judge me however you want. Um, I used to listen to radio all the time now, and I hear this all the time. That's a great question. I don't listen to audiobooks. They seem like that'd be droning on to me, and I don't know if I could dig that very well. I'd rather just listen to nothing. And I do that a lot. I find myself more and more, I don't turn any tunes on. I like to have a phone conversation. I get some other LD riders call me when I'm riding all the time. And I do like music at its branch. I like to Facebook. I like to write stories because nothing's in my way and nothing is encumbering me or my mind. It's so clear, everything. The colors are vivid, the smells are bigger, the road is wider, except for those times where it wasn't so wide. And those are other stories. I've actually totaled 2 motorcycles on the Hoka Hey. Just incredible, yeah, and survived them. But gosh, I forgot where we were going.
Passing the time on the long ride.
I'm passing the time. So yeah, mostly I just kind of see what's on Facebook, and that's when I'm out in the middle of. I'm remote, I'm not doing that driving up down city streets. That's for sure. And I definitely generally don't have the music on when I'm inside of towns and cities because people are trying to run you over. My encounters with people have been everywhere. Everybody is trying to run you over because they just don't see you. They don't see us. They don't. Yeah.
That was the best advice I was ever given. My friend Nate, he's like, you need to assume that every car out there is actively trying to kill you.
Absolutely. I've had people point guns at me. I've had people target me with their cars like a missile intentionally. I've had people, I got hit by a truck on the last Nitwit rally coming towards Oklahoma City and Edmond in a downpour doing 75 miles an hour. A truck broadsided me on the interstate. I mean, I don't know how I didn't go down. I'm looking at them wire thingies on the side there, and it's pouring rain, and the guy in front of me is hitting the brakes, and he's blocked up this traffic, and this big 4x4 truck comes over and hits me. It pushed in my foot peg, and it pushed in my mirror. And I'm saying it pushed him in. That's how hard it hit. And the look on his face was, he was petrified. I could tell.
Yeah.
The next site that I went to was where the going postal, where the first example of somebody going postal there in Edmond. There's a statue there for the guy that went into that post office and killed them people. That sorry bugger, man. And there's a monument there for that event, and that's where I was headed to. And I was so shaken. I took a meal break. I had to stop. I've never been that shaken, and I've totaled 4 motorcycles, and I've never been that shaken up. But yeah,
Whew.
goodness.
Well, we have completed the LD dozen, and we did not have an accident on the way, so I'm going to call that a win.
That is a win,
Anything else
man.
you want to? Any final words before I let you go?
Thank you for having me on. This has been a blast. Anytime,
Likewise.
I'd be more than happy. I have a lot of stories I can tell you, I promise.
Awesome. Well, everyone, that is Ken Andrews. Thanks for coming on Long Riders Radio. Well, if you'd like to get in contact with me, there's lots of ways you can do it. Easiest way is to head over to the website, www.longridersradio.com. And hey, another big thank you to the folks over at DiscountRamps.com for their support on this episode. Remember, DiscountRamps.com offers a huge selection of power sports products for your ATV, UTV, motorcycle, and more. Everything you need to load, haul, or transport your power sports toys. Long Riders Radio listeners can save 15% with coupon code LONG, and that's LONG, over at DiscountRamps.com. And as always, we need to thank this show's founder, Mr. Michael Cox. I was talking to Mike the other day, and not a lot of people know this, but Mike is a huge practical joker, and he's getting ready to go on this trip, and for some reason, he's taken rubber dog poop with him. Like, Mike, what are you doing? And he said,
I'm packing my shit, excuse my French.
Ride safe and stay safe, everyone.